Hello and welcome to another rendition of KKP Untitled podcast, the show where we know about the show that we know how to talk about video games, but we just don't know how to title our own show. Yes,
Yeah.
This is one unknown fact right there. So we are recording on the week of the 25th of April. This episode is going to come out the following day. I'm your host, Mr. Toffee, Jonathan Toyat, and joining me is of course Lewis Larkham. How are you doing, Lewis?
Yeah, doing good. I've been quite busy this week. Big news. One of my all-time favorite games has been remastered, and I've been fortunate enough to have the chance to play it through and give it a little review. Since it's already out, there's no embargoes or anything.
No, there's no embargo.
About it.
What's the title of the game? Yeah.
The Elder Scrolls for Oblivion Remaster. It is, one of my all-time favorite RPG games, open world RPG games, and it's really my entry into my love of Bethesda as well. I think first time I played it was I must have been about 8, I think.
The game came out in 2006, and that was like
yeah.
the Xbox 360 primetime release. Not year, more I guess a year lah, because it is supposed to be a launch window title. So
yeah. So I didn't play it on release. I think I played it a couple years after. I think I played it the following year after it won Game of the Year. So
that was like a year later. Then it was definitely a year later.
Yeah. So I had so many memories of Oblivion. I spent, it's probably throughout my childhood, it was probably my most played game. So the chance to go back and relive all of it is absolutely just fantastic. I'm like, it's a dream, honestly, and I don't know how to describe it. It's almost perfect. I don't know quite what is missing quite yet. I think I still need to get through the story a little bit more, so I can get a real gist of pretty much just if it is everything I do remember it being. It's great, honestly. Just from the open worldness to also like just the jank. They also kept in there's an infamous line flub from one of the voice actresses.
Yeah.
For
I think I know which one you're talking about. What is it? Can I take that thing again? Go on.
Yeah. They kept that in there as well, which is great. They do have new voice acting as well. So not all the Imperial Guards sound the exact same. But they did keep the original voice actors in as well. So
of course, you cannot. I mean, this is a game where they brought in Patrick Stewart, Linda Carter, the OG Wonder Woman, and Sean Bean, all in one fantasy game. So you don't want to kick them out, obviously. No, sorry. Terrence Stamp. How can I forget? Terrence Stamp, also a Superman guy as well, together with Linda Carter, because Wonder Woman, DC and all. Yeah, it's a pop culture, really awesome melting pot, especially in 2006, where I would not expect them to bring them all together just to voice fantasy characters for a one-shot video game, but they did. Bethesda, Todd Howard, they got the recording all done at that time, and it was just magical. And obviously that's something you want to preserve. I mean, it's going to be a bit hard to re-record those lines, so it's good that they preserve the master copy. Yeah. I mean, they can. I mean, Bethesda can. It's just that it's going to cost them an extra penny as well,
Yeah. All in all, it's been great so far. I've been really enjoying my time with it. I think the biggest upgrade is obviously the graphics and the character designs. I feel like everyone kind of looked the same in the original, especially if you were an Order and Imperial. If you just all the races kind of like all members of each race just kind of look the same. As for now, in Skyrim, you noticed there was a lot more individuality in terms of the way people looked. In Oblivion Remaster, it's even more so. Like Uriel Septim looks nothing like how he did in the original, and it's a great kind of step in a direction of just great character designs, because now it's like this it's so good that it's almost rewriting my nostalgia. So like now I'm at the point now where I'm like, okay, that's not the Uriel Septim I grew up. The Uriel Septim I grew up with is this new remastered version that looks so much better and embodies the character so much better as well. So yeah,
the art style per se, I do feel that, okay, maybe the old game may be a bit more colorful, but I'm guessing there's a bit more detail in this new Virtuos created version, because Virtuos are the studios responsible for the remasters. So
Yeah.
Do you think that they sacrificed a bit from what the original wanted to do, or do you think they preserved it in your opinion?
So I mean, I think visually, they definitely they went in a different direction. So like, I think what a lot of people remember when they think of like Oblivion is like they think of kind of the glariness of all the
A lot of the
all the
bloom,
lighting.
A lot of
Yeah.
bloom, yeah.
And it's you know, it was almost like foggy in a way of like how like bright light was and whatnot. In the remaster, that's not really the case. If anything, it looks how you would expect it to, given like given a game coming after Skyrim. You know, Skyrim was very much a game that was, you know, a little bit duller on the colors.
But it fits because it's like the cold, harsh north of Skyrim. Yeah.
Right. And they decided, you know, let's go in that direction, but, you know, make it appropriate for Cyrodiil, which is, you know, it's meant to be somewhat of a, not a tropical paradise, but a warmer atmosphere, you know, somewhere
Like England,
a little
I guess.
bit.
England,
Okay, maybe not England, but like say it's like going England to like maybe France or Spain.
Okay, France or Spain, got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
like I think Scotland and England would be a better comparison for Skyrim itself. You know, a lot more grey, just duller colours. Just everything just feels a little bit desaturated. In the sense of Oblivion Remaster, everything feels very well saturated, as it should do, because that was what the original Oblivion entailed. You know, it was extremely oversaturated, and you know. They fixed all like, you know, the blurriness that came with just like the lighting and whatnot, and it looks phenomenal. And in terms of the actual gameplay itself, it feels like Oblivion. It's very intuitive. I've played it on both mouse and keyboard and controller. Both are extremely intuitive. One thing that did throw me off for a bit was adjusting the FOV. The natural FOV for first person was like 75, so it's just super zoomed in on your hands for no reason. And it took me, I didn't realize that they had a slider for it until like about maybe 5-6 hours in.
You just want to just jump into it, don't have to tweak it or tweak all the options.
Yeah, exactly. But I finally found it, so that definitely helps and everything. So yeah, it's just in terms of gameplay, they've redone a lot of the animations as well. So like there's a brand new sprinting animation that proper makes your character look like they're bolting towards something instead of just like a light jog. And then but yeah, I think the Virtuos has done a very good job at keeping the DNA of Oblivion and what makes Oblivion in it, whether it be kind of the jankiness, the movement, or the kind of the overall design of it all, because it just feels like a remaster. It is like through and through, and it's a really well done remaster. So
how about the combat and leveling? Because I remember in 2006 or probably 2007 when I was playing Oblivion, it was a bit weird that all the enemies are scaling to my level. So when I'm fighting like a random highwayman at a road around one of the many forests and road pavements at Cyrodiil, they end up dropping all the high-level demon armor from the Oblivion portal. So it's like that was very strange, because I expect that from the crocodile demons in the portal, but not a fucking highwayman or a level, you know. Is that still preserved, or did they change that?
I'm not too in terms of like, for example, like that type of level armor, I'm not too sure, because unfortunately I'm not that high level at the moment. I'm only about level 10, I think, because I forgot that going into this you have to sleep to level up, and it's like access to beds like isn't exactly the easiest thing. It's not as like how it is in Skyrim, at least, because in Skyrim you never had the need to really use a bed, right? In the case of this one, either you don't really like you do have to use it in
totally
contrast.
Forgot about that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so finding a bed. So I usually in between quests, whenever I level up, I'll usually stay up at my level. Like that level up notification will stay on my screen for like pretty much an entire quest before I have to. I think the closest bed, or the only free bed I know of, is just outside Kavach, like one of the what do you call it, the just like the camp outside Kavach there. So I just use one of those beds there, and yeah, so in terms of like the high level loot and stuff like that, if I'm not mistaken, enemies do scale up still, because I feel like it's, you know, fighting rats and goblins and bandits and whatnot feels relatively the exact same from when it was when I was level 1. So obviously a little bit harder. They gain a little bit more HP. Obviously I'm still using I'm still using the same old steel longsword. So yeah.
All right. It's looking like you've got some positive comments. I mean, thoughts about the remake. Remaster and everything. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm actually thinking of getting it myself too. Just need some time because I got an Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah.
It's a very huge install space, mind you. I should mention 120.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
3 gigs. I had a SSD drive ready for that. Unfortunately, I just haven't had time to play through because I was playing another title for preview. It's called Blades of Fire. It's from 505 Games, publisher, and it's developed by Mercury's team of Castlevania Lords of Shadow and Metroid Dread fame. They are going back into the fantasy action game well. This time they're doing a Dark Souls clone, except the world you're in is a bit more bright, it's a bit more fantasy-like, and the characters' hands are a little bigger. It's a bit more slightly anime, but not quite, sort of like body proportions and whatnot. And the kicker of this action game is you play a blacksmith who can fight. So what this blacksmith can do is, because he has a hammer of the gods, there's a proper name for it in the game, I just forgot. You basically just teleport to another forge being overseen by a giant godlike deity, and you create your weapons at that god forge. So you don't find weapons from enemies or armor, you find materials and whatnot. Steel, flint, rocks, pieces of wood, and so forth and so forth. You take those resources after killing enemies, you go to the forge and make a brand new weapon. So weapons do break in the game, and you need to actually keep them repaired. And when you forge your weapon, you have up to 5 stars to reach when you're forging, when you're doing the blacksmithing and whatnot. So you gotta use your hammer to hit it in a way that it actually gets powered up, get more stars. So if you have say you're successful, you get 2 stars. You get to repair the weapon twice before it's useless and you have to make another one. So you have to make a variety of weapons because the game has a trinity sort of attack system where enemies are going to be vulnerable to one type of attack type, like blunt, piercing, or slash. So you need to create the weapon that will actually kill or effectively penetrate enemy armor. So let's just say if you attack an enemy, it's highlighted red, you have to change your weapon so that it's at least highlighted yellow or green. If they're red, your attacks are not going to be effective and you have to run away. Luckily, you can actually get away from most combat situations, go back to the forge, try again.
Okay.
Yeah, and unlike other Souls-like titles where all the attacks are on the trigger buttons, your attacks are on the face buttons. So imagine the Xbox controller. I guess Y is your head attack, X and B would be like your left and right attack, and your body attack will be the A. So your blocking your blocking and dodging are on your right bumper and your left bumper and left trigger respectively.
Okay.
And there's a pretty cool system where if you run out of stamina, you can hold the block button and your stamina recharges faster than usual.
Right, okay.
So
that's pretty neat, yeah.
Yeah, so instead of having the stamina bar regenerating slowly as you just walk around and do the whole Muhammad Ali dance like a butterfly sort of thing, you can just hold the block button, recharge it, and then move out of the way. It recharges really, really quick. But then again, the enemies hit pretty hard too on the standard difficulty.
Right, okay.
But so far, from my 1 hour playthrough, the attacks that I dodge, well, I don't really block the attacks, I actually dodge more. It seems very, very relaxed and a bit more fair compared to something like Elden Ring or Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, where there is a margin of error and then you die. Blades of Fire is a bit more forgiving in that aspect. But it's still really tough because enemies don't stagger when you hit them unless they're at a particular animation, at a particular wind-up. So sometimes they get stunned, most of the time they don't. So you kind of need to know when they're at.
Right, okay.
So the controls are fine. I kind of am okay with the weapon crafting system considering that resources just do pop up really quick. And you can farm for resources too, because when you rest at the forge, enemies rise back up again. You just kill them, get the same materials, rinse and repeat, fix your weapon and get it better and everything. Or make a new weapon if you want to.
Yeah.
You're gonna get more blueprints as you go forward. And if you kill a particular type of enemy, like probably let's say a five spear wielders, you get a blueprint for the spear.
Yeah. Okay.
So there is this the leveling up aspect is through forging. So instead of like collecting grace and leveling up at a bonfire, this is another different way of doing it, and it's pretty interesting.
Okay.
Now, I guess I got a few issues with the game. I guess the animations don't look up to par, especially when you're attacking. I don't know, there's just something very janky about how your main character, Aaron, actually attacks. It feels like he's, I won't say it's like a cheap game, but it's not exactly like a AAA, AA kind of animation where I think not much, I think there's probably thought being put into the game, but there's actually a bit of polish that it actually requires. Now, I'm comparing this to another Soulslike game I played a demo of, the first Berserker Kazran. That was the one where they use DNF, Dungeon and Fighter, but they turned it into a Soulslike game. It's a prequel to DNF in a way for the Berserker class. That game looked really good. I mean, the story is kind of basic, but the gameplay, boss fights, everything all feel really good. So the comparison here would be apt considering that both games are kind of gonna be in the same price range or so.
Yeah.
But again, I gotta play the full game for me to give my verdict. This is the preview build I played. It's only like you only get to play 3 hours of it. I'm only at the first hour, and so far I'm okay with it. There's nothing really hugely egregiously offensive about it.
Right.
But there's nothing really special, save for the forging, and even then, I foresee this getting very, very repetitive over time, especially when you're not making a super powerful item or weapon.
Right.
There is some customization because you can change the rocks and stones to something better because you don't have to stick to your blueprint.
Right, okay.
But so there is some customizability there, but again, it would be more fleshed out if in the full game, hopefully.
Yeah.
Do you got any questions about it? Is this something that
I was going to ask, because I mean, you touched on the animation side of it, like how the animation could use a little bit more polish, but I guess how is like the overall graphics and fidelity of it all?
It's fine, I guess. It reminds me of a 2010 game. That might be a bit of a knock, but at the same time, I am the guy who actually spend like maybe 10 US to buy a crappy game like Blades of Time or X-Blades just for shits and giggles. You know, like games like Two Worlds and Two Worlds 2. I would play that despite knowing how shit those games are, you know?
Yeah.
Or the Sacred Trilogy as well. That's a 2010 juice that I'm kind of missing in a sense. But to see this in Blaze of Fire, it does feel like it's out of time. It's like a game that's past its expiration date. But if the game is polished enough that in the final product, then maybe it's something I would buy. Just for throwback's sake. But for now, it's something that if I play like maybe another couple of hours of this, I might stop because of I know where this is going.
Right, okay.
So I think that's it. I mean, that's it for my preview. So not much promise, but hopefully the full game might be good. It's just that right now it's just lacking a lot of things to stand out from other Souls-like games, like from this year and the last year.
Okay. Alright, yeah, that makes sense. You touched on Purpose. That was going to be my next question on it.
Yeah. Which is...
which is like, just like, I guess, what is it missing?
Yeah. Pretty much some of the sauce that would actually make it stand out. Like, the first Berserker, the bosses are the standout moments of the game. And of course, some of the aesthetics and all that is like half anime, half dark fantasy. I kind of like that look too. And the feel of the combat, all that feels less janky, especially when you compare it to Blades of Fire. So that's pretty much it from my gaming side. Got a couple of other games I'm playing under embargo. This is also a bit of a reminder to tell you that we have played through a number of games. We have played Detective Dodson. You can check out the review video Lewis did called Loot or Leave It.
Yep.
We also played Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves, and Claire Obscure, Expedition 23. Probably one of our best games of 2025. One of them, yeah. Definitely. It's probably the only game this year that we've given like high distinct scores so far.
Yeah.
So do check those reviews out on video on our website and also on our YouTube channel, gakuchopre.com, or just gakuchopre on YouTube.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, I believe we can go to the news. Maybe you want to bring up some of your points, some of the news that you have, Lewis.
Yep, no worries. I'll bring up the. How about we start with the Overwatch one, because that's something I did a little bit of research on last night by actually playing it. Which is basically Overwatch 2 has a brand new mode called Stadium mode, where essentially it's really hard to describe. In my initial article, the way it was described, it sounded like it was to be somewhat of a kind of hero shooter meets platform fighter kind of game mode. But I realized now in hindsight, having actually played about 3 hours of it, it's not really that. It's, if anything, it's a lot more like, I guess, Valorant in the way that you collect currency and have to you kind of utilize that currency to buy abilities, but it also there's also like 10 times the amount of abilities that you would ever have in a Valorant game as well. So essentially what it comes down to is utilizing your currency to buy perks, where kind of, I guess, it's kind of implementing the perk system that they recently implemented, but into a more currency-based system.
Okay.
And you have a wider range of perks as well. So you have it ranges from hero to hero, but it's like there's perks. Say I'm playing Reaper, for example. His passive is like a lifesteal. So he has an ability. Essentially, he has perks where it allows him to deal more damage and also increases lifesteal, and there's different variations, whereby, like, if he comes out of his shadow step, he can deal like more lifesteal, or for every critical hit, his movement speed picks up by like 5%, stuff like that. So that's like the offensive abilities, and then you've got like the perks that benefit your kind of your ult and your E ability. So in the case of Reaper, for example, Shadow Step, you would your Wraith Form, sorry. So you would, for example, if you pass through enemies as a Wraith, it slows them down. They also have these main abilities, which are like permanent. You can't sell them. That should be mentioned as well, is that you can sell these abilities. So you have three different rarities. You have common, rare, epic. Epic being the highest. Epics usually cost around 10k credits. Your commons cost about 1k credits, and then your rares are just in between that. So you also have a fourth type of perk that you can purchase, which don't cost any currency, but you can only get them every 2, if I'm not mistaken, every 2 rounds. And these are permanent abilities, so you can't change them. You're stuck with them pretty much until the end of the game. These include just overall, it kind of changes the actual gameplay of the champion, of the hero. For example, I believe for Ana, she gets her sleep dart gets an AoE effect instead of having to hit the target. And that's just one example. I think for Reaper, one of them was the Shadow Step one. So when you TP using your Shadow Step, you get an increase of, I think it's 3% lifesteal. That was one of them. The other ones are kind of skipping my mind at the moment. But it's a different take on Overwatch, and it's quite fun. It's definitely long and it's quite grueling, I'm not gonna lie.
This is like a PvP thing, right? Deathmatch.
Yeah, PvP. Yeah, essentially. So these mechanics are suspected to have been what you were meant to be able to use, in the PvE mode that they unfortunately discontinued.
Like a deathmatch thing, like whoever reaches the highest score, last man standing sort of deal, or.
No, so it's still very much Overwatch in the sense of it's just one team versus one team. 5v5, and it's it's a best of 9 or best of 7. Sorry.
Best of 7.
It's a best of 7. So first of 4 essentially.
Okay.
And it's pretty much every single competitive Overwatch game mode, from control, push, clash. But it's on smaller maps and it's a lot faster paced, so your ultimates charge faster, and that's kind of done on purpose because yes, the pace is faster, but you're still playing a best of 7. So both of my games went to game 7 last night, nice. They were, I think, they were about maybe an hour each almost. in terms of games. So it's like playing a league game, really. They do have their own ranks as well. They have its own leaderboard. Essentially, it's got its own like leagues. They call it leagues, not ranks. So you start off like rookie, and then you go to veteran and stuff like that. So it's just it has its own ranking system there. But yeah, all in all, I think another big factor of that as well is the fact that you can choose between playing first person and third person. So
okay, that's new. That's new.
Yeah, to me, it's kind of their answer to like Blizzard's answer to kind of changing things up to make it compete with Marvel Rivals.
Yeah.
Whether it'll work or not, I don't know. I do know that a lot of Overwatch 2 players are enjoying it at the moment. They do have a lot of things to say about it. But all in all, also from my side personally, I do enjoy it. It is a breath of fresh air. It's something that Overwatch does need, and I don't think it will be kind of replacing your bog standard Overwatch 2, like that and its competitive rule set either. That will still just be fundamental Overwatch 2. But in terms of just implementing something new and kind of utilizing the assets that they kind of had from the PvE, the discontinued PvE mode is good in my opinion. It's it's not a waste of assets or whatever. So it's a breath of fresh air, and if you play Overwatch 2, then I definitely recommend you check it out.
All right. On that Activision Blizzard note, I got a piece of news to complement what you just said. So, Diablo 4 and Diablo Immortal are launching their first external collaboration with the dark fantasy manga series Berserk, which you and I have read quite a bit. It's the manga from the late Keita Miura. I hope I got his name right.
Yeah, Kentaro.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. Sorry, Kentaro Miura. And it's being continued by his close friends and publishing house that's running Berserk. So we're going to see more of that. So the collaboration features exclusive equipment and fights that take place during a limited time from May until... It's going to be a month-long collaboration from May until June. Okay. So the collab for Diablo 4 is mostly cosmetics. You get the Skull Knight's armor, you've got Guts Berserker armor for the Barbarian. I think the Skull Knight is for Necromancer. And I believe another class gets a Femto's armor. Basically Griffin's a demon armor, I believe. It was for one other class. And then for Diablo Immortal, you actually get a boss fight in the form of a Zod, the demon. You get to fight him in basically a special room and get certain different items from the Berserk universe, like the sword, like the Guts' I believe his giant blade. I forgot what it's called, Claymore or just a two-handed sword. Yeah. Also a bunch of like items here and whatnot. So it's an interesting collaboration, considering that. Well, then again, maybe not, because they had a Cowboy Bebop collaboration for Overwatch. So I think the whole anime thing would be something that Blizzard is doing, not just for Overwatch, but also Diablo and probably their other games like Hearthstone or World of Warcraft in the future so far. So it's cosmetic. It does fit with the theme of Diablo, where it's just basically you killing demons and all that, so it's not really out of place. It would be kind of cool to have a Guts' armor and sword as on my Barbarian.
Yeah.
It'll be pretty interesting to see how that goes, but again, I haven't seen much fanfare or feedback or any complaints that I know so far. Everyone seems to be like, oh, okay, it's like another collaboration per se.
Yeah, it makes sense as well,
Not so much controversy per se. Also, you want to bring up what Bethesda, a good thing that Bethesda did lately?
Yeah. I mean, so this was something that I did. Was it last episode that we were talking about Sky Oblivion?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I think it was right.
Episode,
yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, on the I guess following up from last episode when I was kind of comparing kind of Sky Oblivion and the Oblivion Remastered, and kind of I kind of shared a bit of kind of concern about what that would mean for the Sky Oblivion team and whatnot. But yeah, the Sky Oblivion team actually came out and talked about just briefly thanked Bethesda because they. People didn't really know what Bethesda was gonna do. It kind of felt a little bit backhanded that they released, Oblivion Remastered kind of out of nowhere. We've known about it for a while, but it was just like, it just appeared out of just kind of just threw it on us. And then Sky Oblivion, is still very much in the works. So I didn't really know how to feel about that. But then they were just like, Sky Oblivion team came out on X, formerly Twitter, and pretty much just said, "Oh, thank you to the folks at our friends at Bethesda. They gifted us all free keys for Oblivion Remaster, and just gave us their full support." So they're still very much working on it, and I think that it's definitely, I realize now, having played the Oblivion Remaster, it's still. There's still room for Sky Oblivion. Like Sky Oblivion is going to be its own thing. It's running on the Skyrim engine. I think one thing that a lot of people are going to find a bit troublesome with the remaster, that I forgot to mention earlier, which was the fact that it's not the most well optimized game. I think on my sister's RTX 2060 PC, that it runs at an unstable 60 FPS. So it kind of drops every now and then, especially in the open world and stuff. In the cities, it's fine. In caves, it's fine. It's just when you go out of the cities into the open world, it just kind of starts to shit itself a bit. With Sky Oblivion, I know for a fact that won't be the case because it's running on Skyrim's engine, which is just it's a very old engine at this point, and it can run on almost pretty much any modern device, 60 frames, no problem at all. So it's that's on regular settings as well, no high fidelity mods or like running it on ultra or whatever. But yeah, I think it's good, it's great. I think Bethesda's something like it's one of the few companies that I would expect this from, in a sense.
A nice little PR move from your side. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, there's definitely a PR kind of perspective with this, but then it's also kind of Bethesda's always kind of supported the modding community. They've always advocated for it. I wouldn't expect anything more, anything less from them when it comes to kind of this. I wouldn't have gone as far as to expect them to give out free keys, but just kind of just a public endorsement of just hey, when Sky Oblivion does come out, do make sure to check that out. That was the bare minimum I was going to expect from them. But they did go above and beyond for that. So
that's cool.
Congrats, Todd Howard.
Nice. Also, I got a bit of maybe good news on my side. PlayStation and Sucker Punch Productions has announced the release date of their upcoming action-adventure samurai title, Ghost of Yote, which is coming out on the 2nd of October, exclusively for PlayStation 5. This year, not 2026. 2nd October 2025. So this is obviously a sequel to 2020's Ghost of Tsushima. You play Atsu and she has to take revenge on the 6 samurais who are all wearing masks, who basically burned down her village and just killed her family. So she seeks revenge. This is basically about the same plot as Assassin's Creed Shadows for Naoe's side, except reduce the killers from 8 to 6. Okay. And we get a new map and everything and whatnot. So revenge plots for samurai games are a dime a dozen anyway.
Yeah.
So I guess the new mechanic, apart from the open world, new area, and horse riding, we got a bunch of new mechanics here and there. I guess new weaponry that Atsu can use. Dual katanas, kusa, the chain and sickle, and I guess she can use a gun in one of the trailers and whatnot. So I think we'll probably see more gameplay as the months pass by, maybe Summer of Gaming. So what's your hype check for Ghost of Yote on your side?
Honestly, I unfortunately didn't get to play it when the original Ghost of Tsushima, when it originally came out. I was introduced to it, I think, was it last year when I reviewed the Director's Cut on PC. That was phenomenal. Only then did I really and truly understand what everyone meant by the fact that it was a game of the year contender. It's just it was one of the best single player games I've ever played. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and a lot of people like to say that Ghost of Tsushima is what Assassin's Creed, maybe not Shadows, but just Japanese Assassin's Creed should have been, because the story just made sense, narratively, and just the skill mechanics as well was just everything, just incredible. So I do look forward to Ghost of Yote. I am curious about the history of it. I know that Ghost of Tsushima is loosely based on actual history of when the Mongols did come to Japan, but I am curious on kind of how, how the story is going to be told. Because the story just made sense, narratively, and just the skill mechanics as well was just everything, just incredible. So I do look forward to Ghost of Yote. I am curious about the history of it. I know that Ghost of Tsushima is loosely based on actual history of when the Mongols did come to Japan, but I am curious on kind of how I guess the lore plays out because I'm just a fiend when it comes to
Yote,
story and lore.
I believe is the story of Yote is out happens I think 100 years after Ghost of Tsushima.
Okay.
So I don't think Western culture has actually invaded Japan yet, has it? After 100 years or so.
I'm not too familiar with
The
Japanese history,
Bakumatsu
unfortunately.
Roman period. I'm not so sure when, but I did see some characters using guns in the game. Or
Right.
it could be a fever dream, for all you know.
Yeah.
So they're using like flintlock pistols or whatnot. So that could be like the era for Ghost of Yote to happen.
Yeah,
Like,
but I think I'm not too sure. I mean, do you have very high do you have high expectations going into this? Because I kind of do.
really do actually. Even if it's gonna be the same kind of game as Ghost of Tsushima, I'll be fine with it. But for it to be like, I guess, Game of the Year contender and all that to get a clear obscure, it needs to do something a little different. Maybe change up the story a bit, or have different kinds of missions, more elaborate boss fights, or maybe cooler set pieces or whatnot. I mean, there are just so many things they could do. I have been a fan of Sucker Punch's work since the first Sly Cooper they did back on PS2. And also the infamous duology, along with Second Son. So I expect a lot of big things to happen from there, like bigger set pieces, more action. Not necessarily a bigger world. No, I don't want a 30 or 40 hour game. I want just a really nice 15 to 20 hour game, at least for the main campaign. Side stuff, you can spend 100 hours on it. That's fine. That's on course with any open world game. But for this main story with some side stuff here and there, at least 20 hours, of really good action set pieces and a very enthralling story of revenge and maybe what Atsu can do along the way and what she learns,
Yeah.
Oh, and also another thing, what I would like, another Sly Cooper Easter egg. So in Ghost of Tsushima, you can collect the Legendary Thief set, which is basically a blue samurai outfit, which is the same colors as Sly Cooper in the Sly Cooper games. So for this one, maybe you can have an armor set that's, because you're playing a woman this time. Last game you're playing as Jin. So this game in Ghost of Yote you're a woman. So maybe you could find an armor set that matches Carmelita's colors from the Sly Cooper side, because Carmelita Fox is the detective who is hunting Sly down in the old games back in the day.
Right.
So basically it can be like Legendary Fox armor, right? You know, with the orange kind of scheme and everything. So that's all I want. So that'll be like a nice Easter egg. Let's see. Maybe I will cap off. Maybe I will mention this a piece of sad news, and then you can round it up with another piece of news on the side.
Yeah, sure.
Or what are you doing?
Let me see.
Okay, so Indonesian game studio Ananta. Or do you want to take this?
I think you can take that one.
Okay, cool. Alright, so Indonesian game studio Ananta Rupa, the makers of multiplayer online battle arena title Lokapala, has allegedly not paid its employees since November 2024. The CEO Ivan has said that yes, we are working on this, but so far it's been like an ongoing process where they're just stalling, HR doesn't know what they're doing, and management, despite the game kind of doing alright for itself, it's been around for like a year or so. It's a MOBA, by the way, iOS MOBA game, so that's pretty much what's going on. So really sad that we've actually mentioned a bit of good things about Indonesian game development the past few weeks, and then this sort of thing happens, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You got any thoughts about that?
It's just another case of just like what do you call it? Just studio heads kind of screwing their employees over. Really, like it's really undeserved because there's, especially in the indie making space in Indonesia specifically, there's so much talent that doesn't deserve to be treated this way at all. And it's so unfortunate that there aren't kind of people in power with kind of their heart in the right places to really accommodate these people. And I can't help but just feel sorry. Just like I hope that things pick up for them, and that they find their way about it all. But yeah, these are kind of things in my head that they shouldn't be happening in the first place.
Yeah.
So
mismanagement
it is
and
unfortunate.
Yeah. Alright, so a couple more other news, I guess. SNK is hosting a major Fatal Fury City of the Wolves tournament in its SNK World Championship 2025 series. Now, what's really starking here is the prize pool, which is 2.5 million USD.
Wow.
Yeah, with the winner getting US 1.5 million out of it. This is actually higher than the Capcom Pro Tour Street Fighter 6 tournament side of things.
Yeah.
That's 2 million. That's 2 million. Yeah.
Yeah, wait, is that not the biggest FGC prize pool?
It is the
'Cause
biggest. It broke the record for being the biggest right now.
Yeah,
as we
okay.
speak. So it is
Yeah, I
the
thought so,
largest
yeah.
prize pool for just fighting games. So one, I imagine after seeing so many clips of Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves, people doing the just defend block and countering enemies from that, I can imagine something like that happening. Someone losing a 1.5 million because you force someone to block.
Yeah.
So that's again, Fatal Fury is one of those games where apparently being on the defensive does help as much as being on the offensive too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because if you're blocking supers, if you know the timing of the attack, you can just do a just defend block and counter with your own super. Because when you just defend, you're invincible. If you do hyper just defense, you're more invincible. So your super is more safe to pull off.
Okay.
I mean, you can even do a long string, Max. Actually, any attack you do after a hyper just defend is actually super safe.
Okay.
You can do anything, whatever you want, if you just hyper defend, which is tougher than it sounds. I tell you.
Yeah.
Very, very tough.
I can imagine.
Yeah. So it's crazy. Like 2.5 million. I mean, I think we both know how this actually came to be, considering the huge marketing push that Fatal Fury has been doing. It was on WrestleMania like the past week or so, on the mat floor and everything. It was, Saudi Arabia doing the thing, running SNK, well, pretty well. So it's like a monkey's paw sort of thing. Like a lot of fans, myself including, want a Fatal Fury game to do well.
Yeah.
I guess there is gonna be a catch.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I like say what you will. I feel like.
There's even the esports tournament in Riyadh.
The esports World Cup. Yeah, that's what I was gonna mention.
Fatal Fury is in it too.
That prize pool is even bigger than the esports World Cup prize pool, which is by far the biggest prize pools in esports right now. So that's incredible to hear, especially as the esports fanatic as well. I have an appreciation for the passion that FGC players have. Because there's, for the longest time there has been so little money in it when there shouldn't be. There should be so much more money. You got people, like some of the greatest underdog stories in all of esports, like Arslan Ash and whatnot. Like the longevity of fighters, like players like Knee and whatnot are just there should be way more in the entire circuit, like in terms of monetary value and sponsors and everything. It deserves. There is so much passion. There is the storylines are like fucking amazing, and it deserves. It's finally at least with Fatal Fury, it's finally getting the backing it somewhat deserves. Whether or not people agree where that backing comes from is up for debate. But I think the people who are involved in at least the esports scene, who have worked, like, who've stood by Fatal Fury for so long, especially, I feel like are finally gonna get what they deserve
for a price. But that's how life is, unfortunately. I guess some compromise has to be done, but I will not blame anybody if the reason they don't want to play Fatal Fury City of the Wolves is that there's a rapist footballer on the roster. So yeah. All right. Any piece of news you kind of want to bring up before we wrap up this whole show?
Yeah, I guess the final news that I bring up on the topic of esports is that the MPL Malaysia is seriously considering a franchise model going forward. Now, the word franchising and esports don't necessarily go hand in hand together at the moment. I think it leaves a kind of a bad aftertaste in a lot of people's mouths, at least in the case of the Overwatch League.
Yep.
The Call of Duty League is still somewhat going strong, and then you've got Halo and Valorant, which people consider them franchising. To me, they're not really franchising. They're more of like kind of franchise partners. Like, if Riot or 343 decides to, they can just kick whichever teams out if they wanted to. I believe there's no monetary input yet, at least. I believe that's something that they are planning on moving towards. And then you've got like the likes of League of Legends, who have been franchised for ages as well. Now this isn't Mobile Legends' first step into franchising. They've already done this with the Philippines and Indonesia. So far, it's worked, but they did preface that this is only because they took the time and consideration to kind of mold the franchise model to work for each respective market, which is what they're planning on doing with the Malaysian market as well. Now they announced this, what's it called? They YB Adam Adli, the Deputy Minister of Sports and Youth here in Malaysia, was in attendance for this announcement as well, and he was, a massive advocate for this, because essentially what this does is it kind of provides a bit of stability for organizations and players as well.
Stability is always good. Yeah.
Yeah, because unfortunately they don't have, while they do earn probably more than the average at the moment, they are far from being, millionaires at the moment. So essentially what this will allow them to do will provide them that financial security for, when they finally, retire or whatever, they will have, the kind of the foundation in place where they can support themselves afterwards. On top of that, I do suspect that with Selangor Red Giants in attendance of the press conference, they are probably going to be one of the first named partners. That's not confirmed. This is just me speculating. But I know that they are massive advocates for this, because they've just recently as well teamed up with OG Esports, which is a renowned Dota 2 esports organization. They've dabbled their toes in CSGO and whatnot, or CS2 now, and other esports as well. So to get them partnering with Selangor Red Giants is great. So having a big name like that will also kind of act as a bit of an incentive for local orgs to be like, hey, we need to try and find investors so we can invest into this franchise model. I personally am a bit iffy about it. Like I do think it's going to be very good.
Yep.
But I do think as well, I'm going to miss the whole relegation scene. But at the same time, I am getting a bit tired of seeing teams with good branding and good potential for branding and whatnot kind of just come and go. I feel like it's kind of a bit... It makes being in esports a lot more riskier.
It does.
So I understand why this becomes a lot more incentivized for organizations and whatnot. So whether or not it will happen isn't really much of a question. It's more of a when, in my opinion. And
so more like a promise that's happening in a sense, right?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's definitely gonna happen. We just don't know when. Okay. But yeah, I do have high hopes. I think that Ubuntu have already done a pretty good job so far. Although it's still very much, Mobile Legends esports is still very much in its infancy, so we're still yet to see exactly where this is going to go.
Infancy? I don't know, man. I mean, it's been around for quite a while.
Yeah, it has, but I think that
like a teenager, I guess. A teenager.
Yeah, I don't know, because a lot of people still consider esports in general to be very much in its infancy still. I feel like with the introduction,
you can't say a baby forever, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I do think that's probably just a PR word that they're using to kind of cut themselves a bit of slack, especially in the West, where the esports winter is currently happening, and investors are kind of backing out at the moment. But I think that's something that that's where my main concern lies. Is I'm just worried that kind of mentality of, oh, esports is just a sinkhole of money, that you just throw money in it and it just disappears kind of thing mentality is going to bleed into Malaysia, when if anything, I feel like Southeast Asia in general is probably one of the most profitable markets for esports, especially just because of the fact that mobile esports is so big. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
All right.
Those are my thoughts and everything on it.
Yeah, it does sound promising at the very least.
Yeah.
Despite some choice words being used here and there.
Yeah.
All right. Before we wrap up the show, as I keep saying over and over again, for some reason, we gotta mention what we're gonna be doing in literally tomorrow by the time this podcast is out. So I understand, Louis, that you're going to be checking out some pretty awesome music tomorrow.
Yeah, so I'm going to be living out my inner weeb. Tomorrow I'm going to be attending the the Central Music and Entertainment Festival. I believe that's the order of which it's called. But yeah, it's essentially they've got 3 Japanese artists coming down. They got Atarashi Gakko, Tetsuya Kitani, and my personal favorite, the one I'm looking forward to most, Creepy Nuts. Who are all renowned for doing some anime songs. They've obviously done other songs that aren't anime related, obviously, but they are most renowned for doing anime songs and whatnot. Personally, for me, I am looking forward to Creepy Nuts. Creepy Nuts, I've listened. I don't want to be that guy, but I've listened to them before they did anime.
All right, you should be that guy, dude. We're in the show where you have to kind of proclaim our elitism and expertise.
Yeah,
go
exactly.
ahead, go nuts, buddy.
Yeah,
go nuts, buddy.
but you know, I think 2 years I'm pretty sure it's 2 years in a row. Creepy Nuts were on my top. I think one of their songs was like top of my Spotify Wrapped. So I'm looking most forward to that. Tetsuya Kitani as well is going to be pretty cool. And then Atarashi Gakko as well. I'm not the most familiar with them. I do know a couple of their songs from certain animes, but it's just I'm not the most familiar with their entire branding and their come up and whatnot. As for I am a little bit more familiar with Tetsuya Kitani and Creepy Nuts. But it's gonna be a great opportunity to interview. I think tomorrow I'm interviewing Creepy Nuts and Tetsuya Kitani, and that's gonna be a great opportunity for me. I'm looking forward to it. I'm just to meet some of my favorite artists in the world is going to be great. So yeah, that's what I've got planned. But what do you have planned?
Well, I got an embargoed thing happening on Monday morning, basically Sunday night. But what I can talk about is I'm going to check out Indie Jam 2025 tomorrow. I'm probably going to head down in the evening because afternoon and morning I kind of have some family stuff to sort out. So probably I'll be heading there about 3-4 p.m. or so, and then just spend the entire Saturday just hanging out there, checking out some indie games from students and from other different publishers and developers. I believe this game called Sadap is actually on display there too. So, and along with a couple of others too. So, and we'll see what's pretty cool there, and then I'll probably talk about it in the following week. So that's it on my side. And thanks again for joining me, Lewis, as usual.
No worries.
And thanks
always my pleasure
to people listening to us. If you want to check out more of our stuff, check us out on our website, kakuchuopray.com, and on our YouTube page for videos, which we do every single week. And that is it. Too bad the show is still untitled, but everything else we talk about is titled. So we're gonna keep on rolling with this punchline and whatnot. So thanks again, guys. Thank you, Lewis, and see you on the outside, everybody.